Hello, everybody. This is going to be a brief video exploring how to use your CapTest LSAT account, what the information is here, the resources, and so on, how to navigate it just a little bit. I'll try to make this brief because there's a lot of information on here, but there's just a few things that I want to emphasize. All right, so the first thing is in your CapTest course, that most of your material, the bulk of it, is going to be found under this tab, Study Plan. Now, on the left, we've got all the course sessions, right? The diagnostic tests, logic games, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so supposing we've completed, this particular session here, logical reasoning, what you're going to have here under the center dropdown is every single one of these sessions has a preview video, which is recommended that you watch before actually attending the session. Okay, they're usually pretty short, 5-6 minutes or so, and they give you kind of a heads up of what it is that you're going to be discussing in the class. So, for example, if I pull that up, they'll have this, they give you the description, review, it's going to take you to another screen, and then you've got this gentleman here who's going to explain what to expect for that particular session. Okay, but then the other things too is then in the class section, sorry, let's get rid of that. Class session, they will give you the pages. There'll be a link for the pages that you would need for that specific section. Ignore the directions here. This is just a sample account. But then also, supposing that you were not able to make the class, right, for whatever reason, that's what this little icon right here is for. You click that, and that's going to bring you back to Lesson on Demand, which would be that entire session, basically broken down just a little bit. It's not quite as long as the regular 4 hours typically, but you'll have all these different videos that you could watch along, following along with your book that were pre-recorded from an online version of that session. So that's where you would go if you missed any particular session, or frankly, if you just wanted to have a review. Okay, so again, that's going to be the little blue icon right here. It looks like a computer monitor. And then the third thing would be the required homework. After every session, you should jump on this. There's going to be some sort of post-session assessment. Now, since this is, you click that little icon there, and it'll have some button for you to attempt this. You have the option to print out the assessment on paper. If you click that, it'll be some kind of PDF like so, right? Work it out. But it's very important that you would enter in your scores on the actual account, because that's how Kaplan will use their data analytics to evaluate what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then give you some suggestions about what you can do to improve. The most high yield types of questions to work on. Okay, and then finally, that's what they have. High yield assessment, and then there'll be some sort of recommendations down below, which this again is based on your score entries, what you've actually submitted to the class, the data that Kaplan can crunch. Teach me more, test me more, jump to the next session. So for example, teach me more, you click that, that's going to take you to your personalized recommendations page. Now, since this is a sample account, there really probably won't be any particular recommendations. So it looks like a few things popped up, right? They would suggest, according to the sample account, that we should do some of this stuff, that, this, and that. This is what you should be hitting. Okay, let me go back for a moment. So that would be teach me more, and then test me more would just take you to some actual quizzes that you could do based on their recommendations, based on your overall performance. See, it's kind of loading there. It's getting there. So they're suggesting, based on the sample account, that I should be practicing more mixed argument-based questions, Foundations 1 and 2. Okay, well, it looks like apparently I did them, so I don't know why they're attacking me on that. Oh, sample accounts. Okay, but anyway, so that's right here under study plan. That's going to be the bulk of where you're going to find, obviously, the stuff for each session, but then all the resources and information that you would need. Okay, then additional practice stuff is involved with the practice library, and that has no, that doesn't. Never mind. Practice library is going to be different sections. They call them mastery assignments. This would give you additional practice on specific question types. So for example, supposing you wanted to work more on logic games, well, look at what they do here. They break down all the different types: strict sequencing, selection, loose sequencing, matching, distribution, hybrid, and some rare games. I really wouldn't worry about these unless you're super confident about everything else. These are very, well, they're rare. Okay, but what they do is they break them down by difficulty ranking. Let's look at strict sequencing for a minute. So foundations would be the most basic, straightforward games, really no twists to them. Mid-level gets a little more complicated, and then you have advanced, where you got a bunch of rules, kind of crazy rules thrown at you all at once. And in each situation, you click one of these things. They have the PDF that you can just download and work from right? Okay. But then also they have something where you would be able to submit your scores. I think since this game was completed, they're going to show you all the answers here. That's okay. But you would click that, yeah, resume quiz. So it would have something like this where they would show you the game and then the questions for each game. And you would try to map this out. But they do have a handy little show explanations. They give you a walkthrough about how you would specifically map out that particular game, how you'd handle it. Okay, but obviously try to attempt it on your own first, and then you can check yourself with the explanation. And then, of course, attempt the questions. All right, so let's get rid of that. Okay, so back here. So that's how the mastery assignments would work. I would strongly recommend that you would not worry so much about mid-level or advanced until you've gone through at least half of the foundations questions for whatever category and you felt fairly confident with them. Because the goal with these mastery assignments, really, with logic games in particular, is that you would be comfortable about how to map them out, how to make the sketch, how to basically interpret the rules. Once you've got the foundations down, it's a lot less complicated to go into the other things. Okay, so always start with foundations before you go anywhere else. And just as a heads up, a lot of these are rather difficult, even foundation-wise, but that's a good thing. Okay, so that's really it for under the study plan tab. Let's quickly jump to, we've kind of already talked about personalized recommendations, and that's just based on what it is that, as we saw, based on my entry of my answers for this site, what would they recommend that I would do? And show all recommendations. They'll have a whole bunch of different things. But you're not really going to get much from this unless you've actually started entering in some, doing some of the quizzes and mastery assignments and so on. Okay. And then final, last but not least, you have the channel. This is a very valuable section on your account. It's essentially videos overviewing different topics. Now, there's two different types. There are live LSAT videos, which depending on what kind of account you signed up for, you may or may not have access to. But these would be something where you could participate with a live instructor, have the opportunity to ask questions, in real time and get them answered, but these would be on specific dates. So for example, something for Sunday, that's tomorrow, September 29th, looks like we've got some logical reasoning videos going on, reading comprehension, and so on at these specific times. And these would be the particular instructors. So you could go ahead and log in at that particular time. Looks like they run for about an hour, and then participate with that class. I would recommend doing that if you have the opportunity and time to do so, because there's nothing like being able to ask questions, right? But if you can't for whatever reason, you can always go to the recorded videos. These would be obviously no interaction with the instructor, but you would have all those particular videos on these different topics, and they break them down on the side here. Let's say we were interested in reading comprehension. Well, we've got a bunch of the green ones, which would be kind of the foundational type courses, the basics. You should always start with these. And then we get the purple, which is a little more complicated, and I think black is the advanced. Okay? So now, with those though, and I will, if you're signed up for a course with me, I will be assigning these for you to do. You would want to have the follow along PDF printed out to work along with as you're watching the video. So that way you can pause it and try to apply what it is they're teaching you, the methods to do. Okay? So that being stated, that's really the nuts and bolts of how you'd handle or what you can do with your CapTest account. I know this video is running just a little bit long, but there is a tremendous amount of resources here on your CapTest site. So to make the most of your LSAT prep, you should be hammering this quite a bit. All right? Hopefully that was helpful. Sayonara.